Welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop tip today. Today we've got a little bit of a intermediate to an advanced level thing. I had a user call in with a question and said, can you show me how to put reflections with ripples in the water? And I thought about that. I said, that sounds like a really good tutorial to do. And I decided to take it one step further. We're not only going to create a reflection with ripples in the water, but we're going to do it on a photo that has no water at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So this is the photo I'm going to be using. And as you can see, it has absolutely no water in the photo. But we're going to take care of that. We're going to make the illusion of water with ripples in the water and have the reflection of this image in that. So let's jump right in. All right, so the first thing I need to do is I need to decide my reflection. And so to do that, I want to just pick what part of the image I want to use as a reflection. And I'm going to draw out a selection. Oh, we'll say about there. Actually. Then I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to deselect it. I didn't get quite enough to the edge. So here we go. All right, so I've selected the portion that I wish to have. And now I need to make a copy of this selection on a new layer that we're going to use as the reflection. So I can right click on that and copy, layer via copy is what we're going to do. And you can see now we have a second layer of just that selection. I'm going to go ahead and rename this layer reflection so we can keep things in order. Okay, and now the next step we need to do is we need to flip this around so that it's upside down like it would be a reflection in the water. So I'm going to do a free transform, Control T, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to select flip vertical. Okay, that's going to flip it upside down. So now we have our reflection upside down, and I want to pull that down. Okay, I'm going to reduce my size here, and I'm going to pull that down to where how I want the reflection to maybe a little bit further down. That looks pretty good. And so I'll have that upside down, and now I will crop, and I'm going to bring into the image how much of an image I want to extend with the reflection. And that's totally up to taste. Okay. And I say that's pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and commit to that crop. All right. So let's move this over just a hair. I'm just aligning it a little bit better than I did. Okay, so everything's in a line. So now I have a complete opposite of the original picture. And now we're going to work on this and actually turn this into a water with 3 dimensions and ripples in the water. And it's going to look good when we get done. But we got quite a few steps to do to make the final effect. Okay, so for safety purposes and for ease, because sometimes when creating ripples and things like that, you don't get it right the first time. So I always recommend convert it to a smart object so that you can always make adjustments and go back. So on the reflection layer, I want to right click on that and I want to say convert to smart image. or smart object. Sorry, I don't know even why I can't talk today. All right, so now this is a smart object, so that if we make any adjustments or any filters on this layer, we can easily go back and adjust without having any permanent damage done to the image and the work we've done thus far. All right, so we have the image, we have a smart image. Now we're going to, what's the rule number one about water is water is not clear when you have reflections in it. It's not as sharp. Right now the reflection we have is as sharp as the top part. And what we want to do is we want to blur that, okay? So on the reflection layer, we're going to go up to filter and blur, okay? And then we're going to go to motion blur. And here you have your little preview menu, and again, based on the image that you're working with, you will use the exact same premise on what you want. We want to definitely have it 90 degrees up and down, okay? And your distance, that's going to be up to what you want to do. I'm just going to go way far. See how far it stretches it out by motion that way, and I decrease it, and you see the reflection and the changing based on that. Okay, again, personal taste. So how much you want to blur, what you want to blur, okay, that's entirely up to you. I always like subtlety in when I work, so you'll see here I like this this subtle. Okay, the top and the reflection has got just that enough motion blur to give the illusion that it's water. So we hit OK. Okay, so we've got our top image, we've got our reflection in position, we blurred it slightly. Now what we need to do is we need to create what's called a displacement map. Okay, and a displacement map is nothing more than a fancy term for 3 dimensions, right? We want the water to have ripples, right? And so we needed a displacement map to make those ripples. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up a new document. And I'm going to do 600 by 1000, okay, for this image. And I'm just using the dimensions of the original image. I'm going to do a black background on it. Okay. Make sure it's pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and create. Now the reason we want it black is because we're going to make noise. Okay, so the noise is going to make the appearance of ripples in the water. Okay, so now we have to unlock the layer by double clicking on the padlock. And now the layer is unlocked. Okay. All right. So the next step is we're going to add noise. All right. So we're going to go up to filter and noise and add noise. And the amount of noise is about how much ripple and noise you want in the water. Okay. Again, because we're making everything a smart object, you can always go back and make adjustments. All right. So for this one here, I'm just looking at it and I'm going to go, heck, we're going to keep it at 400%. Make sure it's uniform distribution and not Gaussian. Okay. We want uniform. And monochromatic is important. Okay. Because we want it to be a black and white image, because this is not anything but a displacement map. In other words, we're going to make it 3-dimensional. Okay, so we hit OK. All right, so now we have our noise, as you can see here. Okay, it doesn't look very believable. We need to do a little more work on it. So the next thing I need you to is go to your channels area here, and I want you to, let's see, actually, yeah, I think I'm going to do one more step here first. Let's do a filter, blur, and let's do a Gaussian blur. It's a little too sharp for me, so I want to I want to blur it out here. And that's just enough blur for me. And I'm doing it at 1.3 pixels. Again, based on your taste, you can come in and play and change what you like in the effect. For me right now, 1.3 is good. Now we need to go to our channels, and we need to select the red channel only, okay? So in the red channel, I need to emboss this. In other words, embossing is going to give it texture in 3 dimensions, okay? So we're going to go up to Filter, Stylize, and Emboss. And I want to turn around and do the angle of 180. And with this, I think just typing in the value is easier. That's causing it to go, left to right. And you can see automatically right now on the screen that makes everything 3-dimensional already, right? Like texture. The height, we can leave it 1, and the amount is 500%. Okay? Then go ahead and hit OK. Okay, so now you can see already as I come in here, we're making a 3-dimensional texture. And that's the whole purpose of this. Okay, so the next thing is I need to go to the green channel and select it. And with the green channel, I need to do another emboss, except we're going to change the angle up this time. So Filter, Distort. I'm sorry. What am I doing here? Filter, Stylize. I don't know why my brain is not functioning. I must not have enough coffee today. All right, so this time we're going to switch it to 90 degrees. We're changing the direction. Okay? And we'll do 1. And yeah, I like it heavy-handed on the 500%. So 90 degrees, 1 height on the pixel, and 500% is the amount we're applying. There we go. Okay, so now we have our texture that we're going to be using as our displacement map. Okay, so now I'm going to activate the RGB layer. Okay, so everything is all active. And now I need to flatten the image. So right click and flatten it. So now I have a locked image again. And now we're ready to, we have to change the perspective, right? We have to think in 3D. Our picture is representing a 3-dimensional image where we have a foreground and a background, and things in the distance look different than things that are up close. So in order to do this, we need to, let's see here. Edit. I don't know why this is, see. Unlock. I apologize. There we go. Okay, we're going to do a free transform. And this time we're going to click perspective, right? Again, because I was talking about we're changing the perspective to represent depth in our thing. Because right now we're looking head on at this texture. We need this texture to be drawn out like in 3 dimensions. So if you look at the texture here, the pebble texture we have right now, you'll see as I zoom out and change the perspective how these pebbles are going to change. So I grab a lower corner and I start drawing it out, and you can see what's happening. You see how the perspective of the ripples in the water is changing? Okay? And that's exactly what I want to do. You may have to zoom out here and go, and how far to go? That's your taste. Zoom in, and you see how this is looking like we're making ripples? And you notice how what would represent in the background is much smaller, less defined, and the ripples up front are much more defined, just like you would find in nature. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and commit to that. And now we have given our displacement map with depth, you see? And hopefully that comes across on the video, okay? But that's a very important step for us to create three-dimensional shapes. All right, so let's see here. We flatten the image again, and now we're going to save this document, okay, as a PSD, okay? So you can just put it on your desktop, and I think that's exactly what I'll do. And I'll go water displacement map. Okay, and just put it where you can find it, okay? For me, I'm just going to put it on the desktop. And now we saved it, and so now we can close this up, okay? So now we go back into our main document here, and we're selecting the reflection layer, and we need to bring in that displacement map, okay? So we're going to go ahead and bring in another filter, and we're going to go to Distort and Displace, okay? All right, so now here we're at the displacement menu. This is the horizontal scale, and the vertical scale is just simply look at them as how intense, okay, you want to have the displacement. And this is why we made it a smart object too, because we may not get it right the first time. We may put values in here and see the result it was too heavy-handed, or maybe it wasn't enough. So that's why we made the smart object, so we can come in and change this anytime. So let's go ahead and start with a displacement of 10 on the horizontal, and let's do a vertical of 40. All right, and we hit OK, and now it's asking us for our displacement map. And there's the displacement map I made, and there we are. Okay, and now I can look at it and I can evaluate it and go, do I like it? Is it a little too heavy-handed? And I think it is. Okay, but all I have to do now is just double-click on the displacement filter, because it's a smart object. We can go back and make adjustments. And I'll change it from 40 to 20. See if I like that effect better. It'll ask again for the displacement map. And I go, that's not bad, but I'm still not loving it. So I'm going to go to Displace, and I'm going to try 10. Displacement map again. And I'm going, yeah, you know, that's not bad right there, okay? Now again, remember, displacements and ripples are totally up to your taste, okay? So your taste may be completely different than mine for your artistic look, but for me, this works pretty good. Okay, so now we have our displacement map. The only thing we got to do here is, if you notice where the grass line and our water is, okay, it's kind of disruptive, and I'd like to make it a little bit more blending, okay, would be the better term for it. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer above the reflection, and then I'm going to select the gradient, and I'm going to select a reflected gradient, okay? So I hit reflective gradient, and I have to make sure that I'm on the default colors of black and white. If you're not, hit the D, and that'll reset your palette to black and white. All right, so then I'm going to pick an area here where I want the displacement line to be, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so now this layer, I need to change its blend mode from normal to multiply. Okay, so now we can see the coastline is a nice dark layer, and now all we need to do is change the opacity till it makes a blending acoustic here. So we just drop the opacity. Okay. And again, it's personal taste because you're making and I'm going to turn that on and off. And I'm thinking 15% opacity is looking pretty good. And there you have it. We have turned around and started with a picture with absolutely no water. And we have now converted it, put in a reflection in the water with ripples. And again, if you ever change your mind, all you have to do is simply come back down and hit this place, and you can make adjustments. Okay? Again, you can make adjustments even after you're done, so you're not committed. You can come in and change your mind and say, you know, I really like the 40 better, and do that. Choose the displacement map again, and now I've changed the entire effect. Okay? So that's the beauty of working with smart objects. So there we do. We did it. We actually took a photo that had absolutely no water, and we made a reflection in water with ripples. So hopefully you found it useful, or at least entertaining. And until next week, you guys take care.